Hey, crafty friend, video editor Adrian here, doing the introduction for this next video for you. This is the second video in the photography Flatlay how-to series, and I'm going to go over two different composition styles for you in this video. If you missed the first one, make sure to look in the description box below. I'll have the first video linked, and it goes over some of the basic tools that I use for photography, as well as the basic setup for natural lighting in your photography. So let's get right into it. There are a couple of different composition styles for flat lays that we're going to go over. And the first one is grid or linear. And if you've ever looked in your phone camera and you see those little grid lines, that's what we're talking about. It's kind of setting up based off of those. You can put the things of interest where the lines meet at those 4 points, and also right in the center. So we're going to recreate something I actually set up earlier today for Prima and redesign with Prima. That's kind of based off of a little bit of a linear grid style layout. And first we're going to add our textural element, and that is the lace. And then we're going to build up and add depth. I'm going to use these coasters as a riser. And then I'm going to set this little wood platform right on top. And then to prop the actual project up from this background, I'm going to place this acrylic block here. And then this is the project. And this will be kind of interesting too, because it does have glass in it. It's a frame. And so sometimes filming like shaker cards with the acetate and things like that and things like this are kind of difficult. And I'm going to stick this literally right up to the edge. And I'm going to kind of let this fall off the wood there just a little bit. And a lot of times you'll see me kind of stick my projects like cattywampus or whatever. But I'm going to kind of get this one more lined up for the linear style layout. Now we're going to start adding in the things that I use to actually make the project. And first up, we're going to add some of the bigger elements. I use these decor transfers here. And I'm going to pull out one of the untouched sheets because a bunch of them I cut into. And I stuck that. It's kind of like that. And then, of course, because it was for Prima, you can see I used flowers in here, so I'm just going to pull those up. The other thing that I used from Redesign was one of their decor molds. And I'm going to stick that also. And the nice thing about lifting up this piece of wood here is that you can layer things underneath it really easily, and you aren't having to constantly pick it back up. Pull it in too. All right, so the other thing that I used, of course, in this photo was some unpainted mold cast. I like to organize mine in little plastic baggies, and I put the name of the mold and the SKU on there for myself because Prima requires those when I submit projects. And I'm just going to put, I think I'll put that like there. I'm not recreating it exactly, but it's going to be pretty close, I think. I think we'll put that there. We're kind of maybe move that just a little bit more this way and this out more that way. And then to paint the mold, I use some paints. So we're going to pull those out from here. And I use the green and I use the red. Mostly. I use some other colors, but we're going to stick with these two. We don't want to make it too complicated. Let's see. I think I put the red kind of somewhere up here, and the green, if this might have been pushed in just a little bit more. It might have been more like that. And I put the green kind of right there. How's that looking? Yeah. angle it a little bit. And I do have these angled. So you can kind of see I'm like setting up sort of a line here, and then I'm going to set up a line of stuff here. Little ASMR crinkles for you. And I usually just kind of pull out some of the things here that I think I'm going to use. I know what I use, so I'm just going to pull those right on out. Use those 3. And I use 2 of these. And I also use some decor or fin wax. Pull these over here so that they're not in my way. And the wax went up here, so you can kind of see I'm creating this other line over here now. And that went there. And this really big flower right there. So I'm tucking that underneath. And then here's a paintbrush. And to keep it from rolling around, because, you know, not always level, I'm going to use just a teeny tiny bit of my poster putty. And I'm going to put it so that it's just the plain black side facing up, because that's what I did for the photo. This is my one of my Willow Wolf Kalia, however you say it, brushes that I really love. And this was a project for Prima. So since it's not Prima, I put it with the label down, but I still get that. So here we are, we're keeping this line going here. And then I do angle it a little bit though, and I think I bring it in just a bit so that I have room for something here along with that. And then I put a flower here, and I put one under here. Should I do another one? Yep. And I put that up here. And I want to cover up this stem just a little bit. So I'm going to pull out one more flower. I'm going to stick that there. All right. So you can see there's kind of like this grid thing going on. We've got these lines going this way in the background, and we've got 2 lines coming down of stuff around the project. All right, my light's really starting to fade, but you can kind of see that this area over here is a little bit darker, and I will fix this in touching up in Photoshop, and that is what I use. But when you're editing your photo, you can brighten up these shadowy areas just a little bit. And I'm going to stick the diffuser on real quick just so that you can kind of see really just how kind of dark-ish it gets with the diffuser. It's going to soften even this highlight here. You can see it's really bright on this without the diffuser. And here you can see it really just softens it so well. I don't want it to hit my camera, but this is basically kind of what that will look like. And the video lens is a little bit different than the photography lens in the camera. So I'm going to take some photos of these, and I'll show you what these look like on screen. So these photos are not touched up in any way at all yet. And you can see that I actually take my photos pretty dark. You don't want them to be overblown. A lot of people have a tendency to really amp up the brightness. And for example, here you can see that it's really bright here. And if you overblow it or you take it too bright by bringing up your exposure, you'll actually start to get pixel or data loss in your photo. And if it's blown out and like when you zoom in, if it looks like just a white square with like no detail to it, the once that data is lost because you don't have it in the original photo, you won't be able to get it back. So there's only so much darkening you can do on overexposed photos. So it's always easier to bring up the brightness. And like I said, you can always bring up this darker area over here with photo editing. And it's always easier to bring up darker spots than it is to try and bring those overblown areas down, because once that data is gone, it's gone. And so I usually set my phone, I have an iPhone, and I usually set the exposure for photos on +3 or +7. So not too bright, like a little oomph, but not overly. And for videos, I usually set it on +7 or +1 because it uses the wide angle lens rather than the closer range lens. And so that kind of makes it look a little duller and less bright because of that. So you don't want to take your photos too bright. And we'll go over photo editing in the second video, so don't worry about that. All right, let me tear this down and start back from the bottom, and we'll go over the next Flatlay setup. Okay, so let's move on to the next layout because I'm losing light, guys. I'm going to switch out my background, and I'm going to pick something that's going to go really well, I think, with the next project. And that's this mini album that you guys probably saw. I don't know when that was. It was way earlier this year. Last year probably, when you're seeing this. I've got all kinds of colors in here, from green to, I think I'm going to choose this like clay color. I think that'll look really nice with this. And I don't remember what the original photo of this looked like, but I think I was holding it. So that's when the hands-free would come in handy. But let's start this from the base up. Now this project was for Sizzix. I did use some Prima stuff to make it, but I'm pretty sure I featured this in there. Just brought over some things that I think would look nice with it. Not all of them are things that I used for this project, but these were the main things that I used for Sizzix. These stamp and die sets, and then this really cool die set from their Snap and Swap. And pretty sure that I put, in fact, I don't know, that might be, we could try that again and just see how that would look to frame. Let's do a different lace. I've got a lot of different laces in my stash, and I use them for projects and I use them for photography. All right, so for this particular Flatlay that we're doing this time, we're going to do something that's diagonal. So I'm going to actually set this up on a diagonal on purpose, like really diagonal. And I'm also going to place this at a diagonal. I think I'm going to bring this lace further down, and I'm going to put that there like that. And because this is a project that I kind of held, and also one that I flipped through, I'm not actually going to elevate this one. This one is going to literally stay right on top of that. But I did use this, I think. We could maybe put that up here. I don't want this color to interfere with the photography, so I'm going to put it off to the side. And we're just going to pull out a couple of the dies from the set. This is a really cool one. It's their Snap and Swap. And you can change out the die pieces on the end of that. So maybe we stick this here. And stick a couple of these so you can see they're different and they snap in. But we're just going to kind of lay them. Kind of stick those on. But I also think use like some of these journaling cards, kind of put some things in here. And I am going to build the diagonal. You can either do this way or this way. You want to choose one of the two. And I'm going to build it this way because that's how I've got things laid out already. And since this isn't specifically for Sizzix, because I've already done that project and shared it, I'm just going to put whatever looks nice out. And I am going to lift this up And now you can see I've got something under here, and it's probably a little hard to see on camera, but it is actually making this uneven. And that's where these come into handy. These are just like little biscuits that help you level everything out. So I'm just going to shove that under there. So now it's level. And I'm going to add a couple pieces of ephemera here. Maybe that. And this floral cluster, we can put that down there. Maybe put that there. A little, I like to cover up the barcodes on these. So like that. And that. I think that's probably good. Sometimes I go really hog wild on things. Now I am going to use one of the stamps because there are stamps involved in this. We'll just use this one. It says I want to be used. And it's got a little bit of ink left on it. I do sometimes like to ink if they don't have ink on them. I'm looking for a stamp block. If they don't have ink on them, I do like to put ink on my stamps before taking photos so that that detail and that texture really shows up. Let me grab one of my stamp blocks. So even though I used my Sizzix stamping tool for photos, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just add these in here and let's see. I might move this up here actually. Let me zoom out so you can see more. And I do, things will get moved around as I'm kind of setting things up and deciding what looks good and what doesn't. So I think we're going to try and keep all of the stuff kind of above, below, and to the side here. And this will continue this portion of the line, and then I'll have stuff here. I also use that in the project, but I think we've got enough dies and stamps. I didn't use these kinds of things in my project, but they can be nice to add just because they match the collection. So they're going to match. And they're nice to just add in. Oh, maybe we put the pink down here and we put a green here. And this just kind of helps fill in some of those negative spaces. Put that there. And sometimes, and I'm kind of in a hurry because I'm in a race against time with the light here, but I like to fluff some of these like flowers a little bit. Even put that there maybe. And then maybe if I wanted to have like one kind of glittery element in here, these you bend the wings up on for a little bit of dimension. That might be kind of nice. Right. And I think what I did for the original photo, I have some ribbons that, I keep back for photography purposes. And I probably put crinkle ribbon, seam binding ribbon on this spool, but since we're in a race against time with the light here, I'm not going to do that. And I mean, you kind of get the idea anyway. You can see that everything's kind of on a diagonal here. If you, hold it, that looks really nice. And because there's nothing to the side here and this mini album opens this way, I won't have to worry about things getting in the way here that will keep it from laying flat. All right, and so here's what it is with the diffuser, and let's take a look at it through the photography lens. So here's a little comparison of the 4x5 and square photo. And as you can see, there are those two diagonal lines of elements in the photo. And also, just for comparison, here's the demonstration photo unedited compared to the original project photo, just so you can see a little different way of doing a flat lay option for this type of project. And video editor Adrian here again to close out this video. I hope you really enjoyed seeing these two different composition flat lay styles, the linear or grid style and the diagonal style. And in the next video, we'll cover two final composition flat lay styles, and that will be it for the flat lay how-to. And then we'll get into how to edit photos and all of that other good stuff. So I'll have more videos after this third video. So I hope you enjoy this next video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and to turn on the notifications so you get notified when I upload the next video in this series. And of course, all of my fun project tutorials. Until next time, happy crafting.